Okay, so we'll do the visualization, do the chanting. Okay. So very good, as I mentioned before. When we visualize the holy beings and get in touch with the part of ourselves that really seeks spiritual guidance. Yeah. The part where we know we can't guide ourselves, where we have a mind that is humble and receptive and wanting the guidance and the teachings that the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha can offer to us. And then realizing that all sentient beings are in that situation of cycling in samsara. Not all of them are in touch with or even understand what it means to be in samsara. And not so many are really seeking liberation or seeking spiritual direction, unless it's to calm the suffering of this life. But when we imagine all the sentient beings around us, we're thinking that all of their minds have ripened, have opened, and are more receptive now. And they're thinking beyond the happiness of this life. And so they're facing the Buddha together with us, taking refuge. And although that may not actually be happening at this moment, it is very healing for us to imagine that, because it helps us see living beings' potential and to know that they all have the Buddha nature and that someday they will face the Buddha and seek spiritual guidance. So if there's people that you especially want to pray for, you can put them in front of you. And also put the people you don't like, who you feel uncomfortable with, in the space in front of you, so that you see them as you look at the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and holy beings visualized in the space in front. Let's generate our motivation. And as we think about healing, we usually think about it in terms of physical healing from injury and illness. And the medicine Buddha helps with that physical healing. But the real healing that we need to do is to overcome the afflictions, because they are the root of all the problems to start with. So if we can overcome ignorance, anger, and animosity, and everything that stems from them, not only will our mind be healed, but also we will stop taking rebirth under the control of ignorance and karma. And without taking that kind of rebirth, then our body will no longer need healing. Instead, as a Buddha, we will have a body made of light that manifests in bodies that look like ordinary bodies, but are not. And through these manifestations that appear in the various realms of samsara, then Buddhas are able to directly and indirectly be of great benefit to sentient beings, either helping them in a temporal way when they are receptive, or helping them in a dharma way also when they are receptive. So it's up to us to develop our potential and become like that. Although we request the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to inspire us with these realizations, we still have to do the work of following the path and transforming our mind to gain the realizations. So for that, we need a strong determination and strong compassion, not just wishing that sentient beings be free of misery, but a compassion that is willing to be engaged and help bring that about. And so for that, we generate the bodhicitta and aspire for full awakening. So what we're doing here at the Medicine Buddha Retreat is one step along that path. So we want to make sure we're doing it with the right motivation to generate the bodhicitta now. So we make these request prayers to the Medicine Buddhas in the sadhana. And then we may wonder, well, how come it's not happening? Yeah, I am, requesting realizations, requesting transformation, and I'm just little old me. Yeah. And all my afflictions are still very prominent. So what's the story? Yeah. Am I just wasting my time and energy requesting the Medicine Buddha, and he's out to lunch, and doesn't have time to benefit sentient beings like me. Okay, no, that's not actually what's happening. Yeah. And it's not that, oh, look what Medicine Buddha has today, bananas and grapes. So it's not that, we're not offering enough. And there's just a few bananas and a few grapes, whereas what we offer to ourselves is much bigger. Okay, so it's not that, Medicine Buddha is sitting there going, look, you guys, you don't understand who I am, and you need to make bigger offerings if you want my attention, because I play favorites, and, you want to get in my good graces. So it's, that's not what's going on either. Okay. What's happening is that they say that the ability of the Buddhas to get through our thick skulls, so to speak, although it's not something physically that they do, that is has the same power as our own karma. Okay. So it's our karma that makes us receptive. It's also our karma that makes us closed and not receptive at all. Okay, so that's why, we can pray and pray and pray and nothing happens, because from our side, we aren't doing anything. We aren't creating the causes, either by creating merit, abandoning negativities, doing purification to remove obscurations and obstructions. So, this is a joint venture project to get us to awakening. Yeah, the Buddhas help from their side. That's no problem. It's us, who are kind of piddling around in samsara. Yeah? So the analogy is often given of a bowl that's turned upside down. The sun is shining everywhere equally. The sun does not play favorites. So the sun is like the Buddha's enlightened influence, the Buddha's inspiration. That's radiating out to all beings. Another analogy is like a radio station. The radio waves are going out everywhere. Yeah. But the sun may be shining, but if the bowl's upside down, no sunlight gets inside. The radio waves may be radiating, but if you don't have your radio turned on, you don't hear anything. Okay. So what we're trying to do is lift this bowl a little bit so that some sunshine can get in. Yeah, and then we keep lifting it. And the more we lift it, the more the sunshine can come in. Okay? So that's what Dharma practice does. It's our transforming our own mind so that we become receptive to the Buddha's inspiration and blessings. And, we're starting to turn the radio on. We may first just turn it on and you hear a click, but you don't hear any sound. Yeah, and then you slowly rotate the dial and you begin to hear something, but it's still very soft. Yeah, and then you keep rotating it a bit more, okay? So this is what we're trying to do. Yeah? there's a joke that goes along with this of somebody, praying to Buddha, Buddha, please, this, please that, please the other thing. And especially I want to win the lottery, because if I win the lottery, then I can be a benefactor to so many Buddhist temples and Dharma centers and monasteries and charities, and I can do so much with the money. So please, Buddha, help me win the lottery. And then you hear the Buddha say, buy a ticket, idiot. Yeah? So, you can pray all you want, but if you don't get the ticket to win the lottery, you're not going to win it. Okay? Some people, they make prayers to the Buddha. It's usually prayers, may I win the lottery, may my son and daughter marry really good people, may they be rich, may they be successful, may I have grandchildren, may I get a promotion in my work, all sorts of worldly things, people pray for that. And they pray, you go to the temple and they pray and they say, Buddha, please, if you make this happen, I will make great offerings to the Sangha. Yeah. So what they're saying is, Buddha, first you come through and then I'll make the offerings. Yeah. So it's like, I'm hiring you to make this happen and then I'll pay you with some bananas or avocados or something. Okay. Making offerings to the Buddha is not payment. And it's not advance payment or, paying up your credit card debt. We make offerings to develop the feeling of generosity in our own hearts. Okay. So it's always good to say this because most of us grew up in cultures where, you pray and you expect whatever holy being it is to come through for you. And, the Buddhist path is really one that emphasizes self-reliance. Yeah, there are Buddhist traditions that emphasize a lot relying on the Buddha and the Buddha's inspiration. But even in those traditions, you still have to practice. Yeah. You can't just sit there and recite the Buddha's name and have realizations. You still have to work at transforming your mind. Because what is it that makes us close to the Buddha? It's when our mind starts to have the same kind of understandings and perspective on life as a Buddha does. Okay? So we understand that, and yet, boy, it is so hard to change this mind. Yeah. Why can't they develop a pill, an enlightenment pill? Yeah. That you take and instantly, the anger pill, you never get angry again. Yeah. The anti-craving pill, you never crave again. The wisdom pill, you understand reality. Yeah. And who do you get the prescription from? Okay, so there was one question here. Interesting question. Are there times that criticism can be considered harsh speech? Now, when we talked about the 10 destructive actions, harsh speech, was one of them. And when we talked about what harsh speech was, criticizing others, with the either motivated by attachment or anger or ignorance, is considered harsh speech. Okay. What this person may have thought is, because I was talking yesterday about when people criticize us, to say, oh, it's good, now we're purifying our negative karma. Okay. So there's two ways to think about criticism. When we criticize others, with a negative mental state, that is definitely harsh speech, creating negative karma. Okay, no way around that. When others criticize us, we don't need to pay attention to what their motivation is. That is not our business. When they criticize us, then we see it as something that's helping us to purify our negativity, helping us to develop compassion for other people who get criticized. Okay, so how we see criticism and adversity is different when we cause it to others with a negative mental state. Definitely destructive karma. When others cause it to us, we flip the situation and we say, this is good, this is going to help my practice. Okay. That doesn't mean that the other person who criticized us or slugged us in the face doesn't create negative karma. Their karma is created by them through their actions. Okay? How we deal with the situation is our creation of karma. Okay, so don't get confused here. Don't start to think, well, I can criticize other people because all they have to do is think that it helps them on the path, and then I don't create any negativity because I'm benefiting them by criticizing them. No. Okay, when we have a negative mental state, we are creating destructive karma. Okay? So that seems to be the only question left from yesterday. Okay, so coming back to the sadhana. So where we left off yesterday, it was making it, the long version is you can make requests to all 7 medicine Buddhas who are on top of your head. As you start with the top one. When you request him, then he dissolves into the one below. You request him, he dissolves below, and so on. So it says in the sadhana to make the request 3 or 7 times. So I think that is up to you. Yeah. And I think for some people, even making it 1 time is okay. That's my personal opinion. For some people, saying things many times is really helpful because the more times you say it, the more times you think about it, the more it soaks into your mind. For other people, they aren't so interested in the words. They're happy reciting it once, and then, that is enough for them to contemplate the meaning and generate the feeling. Okay? So, some people like lots of words, lots of prayers, okay, lots of chanting. Other people prefer, minimum and then silent meditation. So both are okay. It just depends on what kind of person you are, what works best for you. Okay. The Tibetans in general, they love chanting and repetition. The Chinese also. Yeah. And the Theravadas, they have their own chanting as well. Okay. So all the traditions chant. It's just, you have to see what works best for you in an individual way. Okay. Similarly, when you do a group practice, some people, like to have the group practice be a lot of chanting. Yeah. And some people prefer minimum chanting and more meditation. So, for example, if you were doing a medicine Buddha puja and you requested it from the Tibetan Sangha, it would be chanted the whole way through, but it might be an hour long of chanting. If you request it here at the Abbey, there will be some recitation and then a lot of meditation. Okay, so it just depends, on what helps people the most. Okay, so and then if really making prayers to all 7 of them just doesn't do it for you, then or you're in a hurry, then you meditate just on the medicine Buddha on the crown of your head. And if you do just the medicine Buddha, I would say at least make 3. Here it has 7, but I would say at least 3, to give you a chance. Because the words are there to help guide our mind. It isn't a thing of saying words to make a perfect ritual, okay? In Hinduism with the Brahmins, a lot of what they say creates virtue is you have to do the ritual absolutely perfect, okay? In Buddhism, you try and do the ritual well, but at the end, we usually also recite the Vajrasattva mantra and apologize for any mistakes we made. Okay. So the words of the ritual are intended not just, you do them and it doesn't matter whether you're focusing on the meaning or not. The words are intended to be a guide to help you generate different states of mind. So when we say the words, we should try and focus on the meaning of them and generate the corresponding feeling. So for some people, reciting the words, doing the chant quickly, because you're chanting quickly, you have to really focus and concentrate. For other people, they prefer chanting very slowly, because then they think about the meaning of the words as they're chanting. Okay. So again, people are different, but the purpose of all of it isn't just going blah, 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 blah. Okay, while you think about what's happening, what you're going to have for lunch, and who, was nasty to you 10 years ago. Okay. Whether you do it fast or slow, it's to help us think about the meaning. Okay, and so especially in this verse with the medicine Buddha, so we're, we mention the qualities of the Buddha, which is, to help inspire our mind to become like him. And then we say, I prostrate, I go for refuge and make offerings. Again, if you could spend a whole hour meditating on those 3 things. Imagining prostrating with 1,000,000 bodies and leading all the sentient beings and bowing to the Buddha and really emptying your heart of all your arrogance and sincerely requesting teachings. Okay. And then going for refuge, similarly, you could do the whole meditation on taking refuge from the the Lamrim, the guide, the steps of the path, or stages of the path, and make offerings. Again, we could spend a long time imagining very beautiful offerings. It doesn't have to be, kind of tangerines and rice cakes. We can imagine things that are much more beautiful and offering lights and sounds and especially, thinking that we are offering our practice. I mean, that's the most important thing to offer, is to practice and then offer our practice. Okay, so they say that there's three, one way to talk about it is three kinds of offerings. There's different ways, but one way is, the physical offerings that we make on the altar. Another way is by offering service. Okay, so you help do things, you put your time and energy into doing things at the monastery, at the center, for your teacher, and so on. And then the third is offering our practice, which is the most important kind of offering to make. Okay, so we make that offering. Then, if we have not received the Jainang, or the permission, we translated it, Geshe-la and I translated it into permissory right, because it's a right that permits you to do the practice. And I looked it up. There is a word called permissory. Yeah? So, Geshe-la's English, I think, is better than mine. Yeah, I was going, permissory. Okay. So, it says here, in response to your request, infinite white rays of light stream down from the heart and body of the Guru Medicine Buddha on top of your head. Okay. And that light comes in through the crown of your head. Yeah. And fills your whole body. So, don't think of, well, I have a skull there and this light's trying to come in and it's pounding on my head and now I have a headache. No, it's light and your body is, science tells us our body is mostly space, isn't it? There's just some atoms and molecules floating in there and it gives the appearance of being something solid. But really, most of the area of our body is space. So think of the light, flowing into you, okay? And it completely fills your body, so everywhere in your body. Yeah. And, you might notice that there's some parts of your body where, you don't want that light to go, or somehow the light doesn't quite make it there, or whatever. So, try and just really, let that light into all the areas of your body. If there's pain somewhere, you can really think that the purifying, healing light goes to that area where the pain is. Okay. Okay, and so that light coming in, it purifies, you think it purifies all your disease. Yeah. And then any spirit harms, okay? The Tibetans are, there's multiple realms of existence. And so there are beings that we can't see. And so some, there may be harms from those beings. So that's purified. Then negative karma, so the things that we have done in the past, either in this life or previous lives, that we regret having done. Even if we can't remember specifically what we did in previous lives, they say that, we have been born beginninglessly. Samsara does not have a beginning. And so we have been born as everything, in every realm, and done everything. Okay. This is when you really think about it, it's very humbling. Because sometimes in this life, we look at what certain people do and we say, I would never do that. What a horrible thing. But in previous lives, we probably have done it. Okay. So it's good to think, if I have done those kinds of things in a previous life, I sincerely regret it. And I make a very strong intention now not to engage in those kind of actions in the future. Okay. So even we have we haven't done it in this life, still thinking that we've done it in the past, and then regretting that, and especially making a strong determination now not to do it, that is very helpful for our mind. Because we may think in our complacency, oh, look, that horrible action, so-and-so did that. I would never do it. But if we find ourselves in a certain situation, we may very well do that action in this life. Whereas if we think, I've done it in the past, I want to purify the habitual tendencies to do it again and make a strong determination not to, then even in this life, if we find ourselves in a difficult situation, there will be something in our mind that will hopefully be strong enough to hold us back. Okay. For example, some of you may remember the Rodney King situation. Okay. What was he doing? I can't even remember what the initial thing was that he was doing. But anybody remember? Was he speeding? Or it was not some big thing, okay? But the police started following him, and so he sped away. And that led to a huge thing on the LA freeways, what you see in the movies of a car, a police car chasing him. He was black, the cops were white. They finally caught him, dragged him out of the car, and started beating him, okay? And it was captured on videos. This was way back when, yeah. And then, of course, this was in LA, and LA is a very diverse city. The African Americans who lived in South Central LA, when they saw the police brutality towards one of their own, they were very upset. They started rioting. Then you had the Korean grocers who lived in the next neighborhood over. So the rioting affected the Korean grocers, many of their stores got destroyed. Okay. And then you had something with a bus driver. Anybody remember what happened? There's something. Yeah, okay, that was it. It was a truck driver. Yeah, and they beat him. And so then those people were upset. And it was a huge mess and very violent for a while there. And of course, the cops were acquitted. But when I looked at that situation, because I grew up in the LA area, I thought, I could have been any of those people in that whole situation if I had been brought up in their conditions. Yeah, if I had been brought up in Rodney King's family in South Central LA, in the ghetto, I probably would have acted like him. If I had been brought up, in the Korean community and had a grocery store, I would have acted like them. If I had been born as the truck driver, do you remember what race the truck driver was? I don't either, but, I would have acted like him, and like I could have been any of the people in that situation. Yeah. So I actually, and I probably have been those different people, in similar situations in previous lives. So I have to purify for the whole thing. Yeah. But the rioters and the grocers and the truck driver, and then everybody else in the city and the whole surrounding area was very upset by this. So, for me, that was, when I do purification practices, then that really brings home to me, I cannot be arrogant and think that I have conquered something and would never do it again, because you put me in a certain situation and, I have all 84,000 afflictions. Who knows what in the world I'll do? So I have to purify for those things and really make a strong determination not to do them again. Yeah. So you can think like that as the light is coming through, that it's purifying those karma. And so it's stopping the result of having a negative rebirth. It's stopping the result of doing the action again. It's stopping the result of having that behavior done towards you. And it's stopping the result of being born in a difficult environment. Okay. And so as you're visualizing, you think like that. Yeah. I find it's also very good when I look at things that are happening now that I find quite horrible and detrimental for society, to think that I have done similar things in a previous life. And I definitely do not want to act like certain people or do certain actions. So if I think in a previous life, who knows what I've done? I probably did that. I purify, I make a strong determination. And, you can feel that the protecting influence in your mind when you have regret for something. You repair the relationship, you do some kind of action, and then you make a strong determination to avoid again. So I think that, my experience is that really helps to build internal strength. Okay? And it prevents arrogance. Because one of our big problems on the path is we think that we don't have certain problems and would never do certain things. We're not like those people. Okay? And, the warning is never think until you reach the path of seeing, until you perceive emptiness directly with full, stable concentration that doesn't waver, and you have the correct view. Until that point, don't ever think, I will never do that again. I'm beyond that. Other people act like that. Because we don't know, the seeds in our own mind. And, have you ever been surprised by your own mind, what you think sometimes? The thoughts that go through your mind, it's like, wow, where did that one come from? Yeah. Or you may have a problem and you work on it and it kind of goes away for a while, and then 2 years later, it's like, whoa, I thought I had dealt with that. Yeah. It's kind of like, you go to AA for a while, like, okay, now, I'm not an alcoholic anymore. And then 2 years later, something happens in your life, and what do? The first thing you go is for the bottle. Okay? Because those seeds are strong in the mind. So we need to protect ourselves in this way. And purification is quite effective for that. So we imagine all the negative karma being purified, all the mental afflictions that cause us to engage in these destructive actions. We think that all those afflictions, have subsided, that they have gone away. Yeah. And it's very nice, after you do this, the purification for a while, then you just sit and you say, okay, and it may be imagination level, it doesn't matter, but you say, what does it feel like? Yeah, what would it feel like never to get angry again? And you imagine that. Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. People could say anything they wanted. They could do anything they wanted to you. And your mind is peaceful. Wow. Yeah. Or whatever your thing is, if your thing is craving and attachment or arrogance or jealousy or laziness, whatever it is that is really plaguing your mind at a certain time, to really sit and think, wow, what would it feel like to not have that mind? Yeah, and that's really healthy for us to imagine. Because if we can't imagine being different, then we can't really change to be different, because we don't even know that it's possible. Yeah. So if all we do is think, I'm just little old me and I'm incompetent and I can't do this and I can't do that, we can't even visualize us doing that, I can't even think of myself using a chainsaw, Then if I can't even do that, then I'm never going to learn to use a chainsaw. Okay. So it's kind of like, when we were little kids, we dressed up in mom and dad's clothes and we played being all sorts of different roles. So it's like that, except this is really a possibility to become like that. Okay, so you can focus for a while on white light coming and purifying. Then you can also focus, imagine the light being golden. You don't need to stop in between these. You can just do one continuous visualization together with the mantra recitation. Except the light changes colors and it's golden, and the golden light brings the different realizations of the path. So as you study the Lamrim, the stages of the path, then you can think of, okay, now I have a full understanding of that, that meditation, and I can act accordingly. Now I have a full understanding of this one. And so again, that's very effective for getting us to think about, well, what would it feel like to really understand these different meditations, these different topics. Okay. And then you also, in the process, when you're doing the white light purification one, all anxiety, fear, and disturbing emotions are also purified. Okay, so all of you who are anxiety addicts, and I suspect in our society that there are probably more anxiety addicts than people would admit, And we can get anxious over anything and everything. Yeah. And what is anxiety? Yeah. It's related to worry. It's related to fear. Yeah. Anxiety is future-oriented. It may start in the past, oh, I had this conversation with so-and-so. Now I'm worried about what they think about me, what they're going to talk to other people about me, what they're going to do in this situation, this. But the anxiety is creating a story about the future. Okay. And the anxiety story is a horror story. Okay. Daydreaming is a beauty story. You daydream the impossible of what you want to happen. The anxiety is the horror story. Both stories are originating in our mind. Okay? Because whatever we are anxious about is not happening now and has not happened yet. We are imagining it. We are creating a situation and then emotionally reacting to a fabricated situation. And the way we emotionally react, is anxiety fun? Anybody wake up in the morning and say, oh, I think I'll get anxious today. It just it feels so good to be anxious. No, anxiety is miserable. Okay. Who is the star of our anxiety? Yeah. Are you anxious because the refugees in Syria don't have a path to get out of the country to safety? Anybody anxious about that? Yeah. Anybody anxious because the president of Haiti was just assassinated? Anybody anxious about your financial situation? You don't have enough money? You don't have enough money to save for your old age? Because you might break the Guinness record, world record and live to be 409. And, are you going to have enough money to take care of yourself if you live that long? Are you anxious about that? What happens if I run out of money at 257? Then all those other years, how long is Medicare going to give me something? Anyway, I still have to pay for Medicare. And Social Security, I never paid much into Social Security because I never worked. Yeah. So now what's going to happen? Or, I worked my whole life and, I'm supposed to get, how much is a lot of Social Security? I know it's not what I get. Yeah. Nobody could live on the Social Security I get. But, I don't know. But, I get so much because I worked my whole life and I made a lot. And I'll get all the Social Security, but it's going to run out. And then I won't have anything to live on. And I have stocks and I have bonds, but they could all crash tomorrow and then I won't have anything. Yeah. And I depend on my children to help me, but I didn't have any. Or, I depend on my kids to help me, but, they're off in Hawaii. One of them is in Hawaii, one of them is in Alaska, and one of them is in, Venezuela. So, what's going to happen? And then you dream up this whole horror story, I'm going to wind up in a nursing home, and COVID is still going to be active at that time, in the year 2359, when I'm really old, and COVID is going to go through that nursing home, and I'm going to die of COVID finally at age 400 and something. Look at the things you get angry or anxious about. Some of them are just about as hilarious as what I just said. We make up, huge anxiety things. And of course, they're all about me. Or they're about somebody I care about. But why am I anxious about the person that I care about? Because that influences me. You're anxious about your mother's old age. Yeah. Do you care about anybody else's mother's old age? No, that's their problem. They can get anxious about their own mother. I'm too busy getting anxious about my mother. Yeah, and then you go around and around and around and Okay. So, we're like Hollywood writers in our own domain, making up horror stories. Yeah. Or the plane is going to crash. Yeah. I'm going to be on the plane with, I can't pronounce the name of the guy from Belarus recently who was flying into Lithuania and wound up going back. The plane got diverted to Belarus and he got arrested, and it was an international uproar. I'm going to be on the plane with him and they're going to mistake me for his cousin and arrest me too. And I'm going to go to the American embassy and they're going to say, sorry, we're closed, come back later. And when I come back, they're going to say, well, who do you think you are? We'll just make a huge horror story. So our anxiety stories, we do the sadhana of our anxiety story. Okay? Do you have any anxiety stories that you routinely go through? Yeah? Well, it's like a sadhana, isn't it? Yeah? I take refuge in my own mind that can create horror stories. Yeah. My motivation is to just think of what's going to happen to me and nobody else. Okay. And then I start the visualization. Yeah. And you create the horror story. And then, I say this, and then the other person says that, and I do this, and then they do that, And then, is it Henny Penny? What's the difference between Henny Penny and Chicken Little? Who cried that the sky is falling? Chicken Little. Okay, so then in your horror story, Chicken Little runs across the screen and says, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. And you go, yes, it's falling on top of me, not on top of anybody else, on top of me. And I'm going to get hurt, So what am I going to do when the sky falls? I'll go rob a bank, because if I have money, then that'll prevent me from getting hurt when the sky falls. Very logical. Yeah. And, yeah. And of course, the sky's going to fall and, by tomorrow you're going to be out on the street with your basket, your shopping basket full of your belongings, and you're going to be living on the street. Yeah. Standing at the Medicare office, the Social Security office, saying, you guys need to give me more money. And they say, who are you? Show me your ID. We want to see your voter ID. Are you a registered voter? Are you a real citizen in this country? Yeah. So, we will, I think you've got the point. Yeah. But when you do the medicine Buddha sadhana, you have to stop your anxiety sadhana. You can't do both of them at the same time. Yeah. So you really think that your anxiety sadhana is, and all your anxiety is gone, And at first it feels really weird. Yeah. Like, how can I think about climate change without getting anxious? Or how can I think about the financial market without getting anxious? How can I think about my family without getting anxious? And we don't know we can't even imagine it because we are so habituated to that and thinking that that is reality. Or what we're anxious about will soon become reality. Yeah. I'm sure they're going to kick me out of the Abbey. Yeah. I'm sure tomorrow I'm going to be going down country lane. Yeah, with my robes flying behind me and everybody chasing me out. Yeah. Including the cats. Yeah. And there's Upeka overtaking my tree. And Karuna, not living up to her name, going faster than Upeka, chasing me out of the Abbey. Okay. So, at first it feels really weird not doing our anxiety sadhana. All of a sudden we have so much energy and time and we don't know what to do with it. Yeah. So the medicine Buddha sadhana fills up that time and gives us something to do with that energy that is much more productive than our anxiety sadhana. Yeah. So when you're running the anxiety one, push the pause button and do the medicine Buddha one. Okay. Okay, so your body becomes the nature of light, clean and clear like crystal. Okay. Can you imagine your body being like that? Or is your image of your body this solid thing that aches here and aches there and hurts here and hurts there? Yeah, what's your image of your body? Can you imagine having, a body that's being just clear, like light? Can you imagine having a body that doesn't hurt? Okay, so then after that, then you do with the yellow, and you imagine yellow light, and imagine gaining all those realizations. Okay, and you think that your mind is really transformed into love and compassion and yeah. Then after imagining the yellow light, then you can think, or if you want to do it in the opposite way, you can think of medicine Buddha on the head crowns of other sentient beings and purify them and then purify yourself. Usually they say first you purify yourself and you yourself gain the realizations, then you visualize medicine Buddha on everybody's crown. He's still on your crown, and there's many medicine Buddhas, so it's not like he's rushing around from one head to the next. Okay. And when you do the visualization of the light and nectar coming in and, purifying, bringing all the realizations of the path to all the sentient beings. So that's the kind of visualization we would, do for our friend, the Russian monk, Venerable Tenzin. And, imagine medicine Buddha on his head and purifying. Or, whoever you're doing it for, you could do it for all sentient beings. And, as far as the eye can see, you think of all sentient beings in human form. Okay, be that little friend up there, imagine in a human form. It's hard for the medicine Buddha to sit on his head when he's flying around. Yeah. So, and so you do it for them. So that's a very good practice to do where you stay connected to other living beings. Even you cannot be there to help, or there's nothing really you can do. There's some situations where we cannot directly help, or there's situations where we can directly help, but other people don't want the help. Yeah. so it's, to stay connected to those situations, then we imagine the medicine Buddha on the crown of the heads. At the Tibetan medical centers in India, in the Tibetan communities, before the doctors start the day, they all sit and they do the medicine Buddha practice together. Yeah. Then they start seeing patients. And so it's really nice, when you walk past the clinics, then you hear them chanting early in the morning, and then, and they start seeing people. Okay. So, you take your time. I may have spent more time explaining certain visualizations, but you take your time with all of them. And you can also be creative in how you do it. Another thing that I found very helpful, this is my creation, is, sometimes memories of things in the past will come up that are quite disturbing, or, relationships that didn't work out well, or people criticizing, or who knows what. Yeah, and you still have a bad feeling about that situation. So, or situations in the past where when we remember them, we're very confused. I don't know how I could have dealt with that situation. Should I have done this? Should I have done that? I don't understand. I was so confused. Okay, so I find it very helpful when these distractions come to, because, when the distractions come, that's your visualization, isn't it? Medicine Buddha's out the window, but what appears visualized before you is the situation that you were in, and all the emotions come back, similar to what you experienced then. And then what I find very helpful at that time is to imagine the medicine Buddha or whatever deity I'm meditating on there with me. Okay? Or so sometimes I might imagine them on the crown of my head or in my heart, and my acting or responding emotionally, how the medicine Buddha would respond. Yeah. So the same chaos is going on, but the medicine Buddha is in my heart, and so now I don't react in the same old way. I can't play that video anymore. Or I can't do the sadhana of how I was mistreated, because medicine Buddha is in my heart, and I'm responding as medicine Buddha would. Or sometimes I'll think of medicine Buddha being there in the situation, in the room, too, and the other people are aware of the medicine Buddha, and it helps them calm down. Or I'll think of a medicine Buddha on the head of each of the people in that situation, and they that medicine Buddha helps them calm down. So that the situation, I'm not rerunning what happened to me before, because now it starts out the same people are there, but the medicine Buddha's there. So how other people act, how I respond, becomes totally different. Yeah, and I find that that very, very healing for really making peace about things that happened in the past. Yeah, because I don't know about you, but I don't want to grow up to be, or grow old. I should have grown up by now. I don't want to. I don't want to grow old being a bitter person, just going with all my memories, being, this happened, that happened, da. I want to make peace with the past so I can just put it down. And so imagining medicine Buddha there is really, really helpful. Yeah. Okay. And so you recite the mantra while you do these visualizations. And then sometimes, you may prefer to focus on the visualization and keep the mantra in the background. Sometimes you may focus more on the mantra and not so much on the visualization. Sometimes you may just want to do the visualization without the mantra, So you can, again, play with these kinds of things. If you're doing a retreat where you're counting the number of mantra, then you need to recite it. But you can also do part of the session, otherwise. Okay? And so then at the conclusion of the session, the medicine Buddha melts into light. And here it absorbs into your eyebrows. Okay. I think if he absorbs through the crown of your head, I don't think it's going to be a great tragedy. It's just this sadhana says here, I'm not quite sure why. Okay. And you think that, you've received the blessing and inspiration. Your body, speech, and mind has received the blessing and inspiration of the medicine Buddha's body, speech, and mind. And so you focus on that. You just sit there, quietly feeling that, the medicine Buddha has come into my heart and I've become the kind of person I want to be. And then you dedicate the merit. Okay.